If you've been following the news lately, you've probably seen headlines about Europe baking under another intense heat wave. Temperatures climbing past 40 degrees Celsius, roads softening, train tracks bending, wildfires spreading, and thousands of people struggling to stay cool. But here's something that confuses a lot of people. If countries in the Middle East, Southeast Asia, or Australia regularly experience similar or even hotter temperatures, why do European heat waves seem so much worse? The answer isn't just about the thermometer. It's a combination of geography, buildings, infrastructure, climate, and even how our bodies adapt to the weather we're used to. So today let's explore why heat waves in Europe can feel especially brutal and why scientists are becoming increasingly concerned about the future, right here, on History of Simple Things. For most of modern history, much of Europe enjoyed a relatively mild climate. Countries like the United Kingdom, Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, and even northern France rarely experienced long stretches of extreme summer heat. Because of that, cities were designed to keep people warm rather than cool. Homes were built with thick insulation to trap heat during cold winters. Large south-facing windows help capture sunlight. Many older apartment buildings have little or no air conditioning because, until recently, there simply wasn't much need for it. In fact, in several European countries, fewer than 1 in 10 homes have air conditioning compared to well over 80% in many parts of the United States. When a severe heat wave arrives, these well-insulated buildings can trap heat indoors, turning homes into giant ovens that stay hot even after the sun goes down. One of the biggest reasons European heat waves are so dangerous isn't the daytime temperature. It's the nighttime heat. Normally, cooler nights allow both people and buildings to release the heat they've absorbed during the day. But during major heat waves, nighttime temperatures often stay above 25 degrees Celsius in many cities, creating what's known as tropical nights. Without cooler nights, people's bodies struggle to recover from daytime heat stress. Sleep becomes difficult, dehydration increases, and the risk of heat-related illnesses rises significantly. The buildings themselves also remain warm. By the next morning, walls, roads, and sidewalks are already holding on to yesterday's heat before the new day's sunshine even begins. Another major factor is something called the urban heat island effect. Concrete, brick, asphalt, and rooftops absorb enormous amounts of solar energy during the day. These materials slowly release that heat overnight, making cities several degrees warmer than nearby rural areas. Many European cities are also centuries old, with narrow streets and tightly packed buildings. While these layouts were excellent for conserving warmth during cooler months, they can reduce airflow during summer, trapping hot air between buildings. Trees and green spaces help cool cities through shade and evaporation, but heavily developed urban centers often have fewer natural cooling areas than surrounding countryside. Our bodies gradually adapt to the climates we experience regularly. This process, called heat acclimatization, improves sweating efficiency, circulation, and overall tolerance to hot weather. Someone living in Singapore or southern India encounters high temperatures for much of the year, allowing their body to adjust. In contrast, many Europeans spend most of the year in relatively cool conditions. When an intense heat wave suddenly arrives, the human body has much less time to adapt. Combined with older populations in many European countries, this makes prolonged heat especially dangerous. This doesn't mean people from warmer countries are immune to heat. Extreme temperatures are hazardous everywhere, but sudden, unusual heat tends to have a greater impact on populations that rarely experience it. Scientists have found that climate change is increasing both the frequency and intensity of heat waves across Europe, As greenhouse gases warm the planet, average temperatures rise. But heat waves don't simply become slightly hotter, they often become much more likely to occur. Recent European heat waves have broken long-standing temperature records in countries that historically experience much milder summers. Drier soils also play a role. When the ground lacks moisture, more of the sun's energy goes directly into heating the air instead of evaporating water, creating a feedback loop that intensifies the heat. This combination means that what was once considered a rare event is becoming increasingly common across much of the continent. Extreme heat affects nearly every part of society. Hospitals see more cases of dehydration, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke. Older adults, young children, outdoor workers, and people with chronic illnesses face the greatest risks. Infrastructure also struggles. Railway tracks can expand and warp. Roads may soften or crack, rivers become too warm or too shallow, affecting shipping and even power plants that rely on cool water for operation. Agriculture suffers as crops dry out and livestock experience heat stress. Wildfires become more likely, especially in southern Europe, threatening communities and ecosystems alike. Heat waves are now considered one of Europe's deadliest weather-related hazards, causing far more fatalities than many storms or floods. So, why do heat waves feel worse in Europe? It's not because Europe is necessarily hotter than the rest of the world. It's because much of the continent was built for cold winters, not prolonged extreme heat. Buildings trap warmth, air conditioning remains less common, cities hold on to heat overnight, and populations are less acclimatized to unusually high temperatures. As climate change continues to reshape weather patterns, Europe is adapting with more green spaces, better heat warning systems, cooler building designs, and updated infrastructure. But one thing is becoming increasingly clear. Heat waves are no longer rare events. They're becoming a regular part of European summers, making preparation just as important as the weather forecast itself. And perhaps the biggest lesson is that a temperature number alone never tells the whole story. How hot it feels depends just as much on where you are, what surrounds you, and what your body has learned to expect. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.